Hello everyone and welcome to yet another episode of Reset to Zero. So we get started. Sri, what's with the red?
Morning, Ramesh. Red is vibrant. I just got lucky. I just booked up I thought you'll come on a lighter shade, so I thought I'd be like smart with thinking about, vibrant.
It looks like Christmas is come early for you, but for me it was our producer who said wear bright colors. It's coming out well.
Yeah, even that's what my inspiration. He said, yeah, you guys be kind of very well contrasted. That's why I thought I'll pick up a vibrant red, but yeah, I think it goes well. I think it is a red day. So that's
red day. All right. So yeah, it's been really good for us. The whole of last week we talked more about it, of what we've been up to. But I want to start with a story about how our day starts. It goes back to the days when I started my interning at a company at Nestle, right? And then we used to sell. I was in charge of ensuring that I do a little bit of merchandising in small mom and pop stores and distributing pull liquor, right? But what used to happen is we all used to meet at the distributor's office, and there were these guys who used to go on these rounds across multiple stores, and I was tagged along with them. The first thing they would do, even before they started, there were about 5 or 6 of them. They would all meet at the tea store. They would meet at the tea shop, each of them having their own tea, talking about what the targets for the day are or whatever, and then disperse. And then they would all come back for lunch, right? Yeah. So take a cue from that, not that we planned it that day, but it so happens that every day morning, before we get started with the day, Sri and I meet at a tea store, at a tea shop very close to our office. It's about 20 meters away. We discuss everything under the sun, a little bit of work as well. And there's an important, and here is something that happened, and there's a lesson that Sri and I take as entrepreneurs. So you want to talk about that, Sri?
I think it's just very humbling, to mention that, right? Because this is a nice small corner in a shop, right? We just go miss some time, take a break. So what we observe, I think, if you look at a couple of days, maybe back, right? There is this couple, who run this tea shop. Right? We've seen them exchange roles. I think we've seen that both of them on the jobs. Somebody might go out, somebody might be in the cash counter, things that happen. But on this particular day, there was a new person who was doing the chai. I think we just go have chai every day. And when they just gave us the chai, I think, they saw the reaction of ours. We didn't like the chai. It was not pretty good. It's not as good as it used to be. And we didn't say anything. We went to them. We said, we started doing the regular Google Pay, going through that process. They said, hey, what we did? The lady there, along with the person said, hey, we saw you didn't like the coffee or the tea. So please don't pay. And we were just puzzled to see the reaction. Right? Ramesh was taken aback. Hey, how did they even notice, our face reaction about whether their tea, whether their product was good for the customer? That was one observation. We just came back and we were just talking for 2 minutes.
But just mind you, right? I just want to re-emphasize that it wasn't anywhere close to a Starbucks or fancy coffee shop.
Yeah.
And none of them are trained on how do you deal with customers. This couple, is literally a power couple, right?
Yeah.
The lady takes turns to sit on the cash till, behind the cash till, while the owner of the husband runs errands, also prepares tea for all the customers. If needed, also goes and purchases whatever that's needed in the market, right? They both are there at any point in time. They're there. The point that we noted is they're not trained on how to, put customer away, what we really do us as corporates. What she's saying is, the moment we offered to pay, they saw the reaction. We didn't even have to go and complain that the tea was bad. And she just took it upon herself without any prior permission to say, hey, there's no need for the pay for the tea. So she's really empowered to take this.
Yes.
And she's customer obsessed. I think that is something
that also, one more thing just to keep the context right. It is a very small shop as well. It's a pretty busy shape. I think at least 1,000 people walk in every day.
That's a chai economics.
We went back. I remember walking back from the shop to the office today, talking about it. Just, hey, this gives you a good feeling that hey, one is that you got a free chai. Other thing is that somebody's really interested in what you're having. We just came back. Then we started getting into a grind. We go back next day morning, and we see the person who's running the business, the business owner, doing the chai first. and we were taken aback. Okay. Somebody who's not shying away from being hands-on is what I would take right? So humbly to see, right? And more importantly, Ramesh, right? When that happened, and we asked them like, what happened? We said, hey, we wanted to ensure that the tea quality is good, is what he said, right? And no matter what. And this is to me is the common sense of running business.
Correct.
And a lot of times we just don't apply common sense, and we basically try to kind of figure out
over-engineer
things. This is basically common sense. If your customer doesn't like something, go back to them. We should just listen to them and course correct. It's basically, I would say, a common sense running a business.
Absolutely. I think that is lesson number 2. Very important lesson number 2. And we, are a small team here and we're trying to practice this on a daily basis is take it upon yourself to correct things that are not doing. The owner or the guy we're talking about had obviously had an option to replace this person with another one, wait and tell the customers that, hey, there is no tea today, come back tomorrow.
Yeah.
All the options available. But obviously it was a matter of livelihood. And it's also a matter of taking upon himself to run this whole tea business thing and say, don't worry, we are not dependent on someone to come and make the tea for you. I will do it myself.
Yeah.
That's a great point that I think Sri and I keep reinforcing upon ourselves to say, if your vendor has not been able to deliver things on time, you should do it yourself, be it coding or whatever. And I think that also brings us to the next piece of this podcast, Reason to Zero, in this episode, is how are we using these lessons to kind of put them into our daily lives here at Highperformr. So this happens, we come back, this the episode probably happened a week back or so. But a week prior to that, again, we were at the tea shop, and I told you even in our last podcast that there's a lot of announcements coming.
Yeah.
He just decided, he wakes up on the left side of the bed, and we meet at the tea stop and says, hey, why don't we launch for Black Friday?
Yeah.
Our initial launch was supposed to happen probably end of Jan when things were rosy. And he comes up with this idea of saying, hey, let's go ahead and launch the product. I was taken aback because, hey, launching a product probably, you get a few things, you take a few things off your list and we're good to go. But it doesn't work like that on the marketing side. Because I told him, hey, we don't even have the website ready. We don't have a developer ready, website developer ready. We don't have anything set as yet. And if I about Black Friday, we don't even know what the pricing is going to be. How much are we going to discount of it? I wasn't up for the idea at all. But she just said, it doesn't matter. We don't need a forecast of how much we're going to. Let's just get started. Given that both of us are very execution friendly, very, very focused, and distribution is all that we believe in. I came back thinking about it on the road. It didn't take me any more than 10 minutes, probably less than that, to say, okay, Sri, let's go. Right? And what it just translated into is this board, this whiteboard that we went back and said, tell me what else does it take to get it. We can pull off certain items that we're not ready for, but let's get it started. So before I get into how did I get hands-on, right? I want Sri to probably also talk about from a tech side.
Yes.
How did he get started? What was the point?
Yeah. So I think, Ramesh, I really remember the conversation, right? I think, we've been working through, we've been talking to our customers, a lot of positive vibes. We learned excited about what we're saying.
Yeah.
We've been talking about showing them what we have. So that's when, I had the conversation with Ramesh. Hey, Ramesh, what if we try to put what we have in a good shape? Of course, when I say pulled out, it has to be a decent quality, right? Craftsmanship is important. But I also kind of realized that, hey, there's nothing like perfect, kind of exist in the start, right? We just have to learn to ship fast, we have to learn to learn fast, right? And iterate fast. And there's only one reason for it, right? The reason which kind of just accumulated in my mind strongly is that there are customers out there, who are out there, who are having feedback, we see right now.
Yeah.
And the sooner we know that, it is better for us. When we are at a very early stage, we have nothing to lose. But if we basically try to incubate it for too long, 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, we just keep doing that.
Yeah.
There's no limit for it because we can keep it as close as what it has to be. There's nothing like perfect goal per se. The most important thing is to basically go in front of customers and be able to learn really what is working, right?
Correct.
Also learn what is not working. And then go back to the drawing board of iterate, and then the more the iteration we do, is going to get us to scale faster, and then we can basically look at revenue, number of customers, all that will happen after that. So that was the basis of this, right? And there was one more reason, one more strong reason that this probably would not be possible, let's say, 12 months, 18 months, or 24 months back, because we've done this, building products for many, many years. But today, the technology and the stack and the quality of the people we have is substantially different. Correct. Like today, if somebody is decided, and has an idea, right, and he or she has clarity on what they want to build, which is very, very important. Because Ramesh, between you and I, we've been talking about what we want to build for many, many months now, right? And clarity is very, very important. If you're halfway, you are still thinking about what you have to do. Absolutely, it's approach, my current work. But now we have some clarity, right, on what you want to do, and we exactly also know what we want to build over a period of time. There is technology which is helping you deliver fast. You could just take a weekend and make something out of one day. In fact, if I had a wish, I wouldn't want to make that much faster, because that's the way you can scale. With, for example, if we had to build this whole AI stack under the hood, imagine a world where you would have LLMs like OpenAI.
Yeah, that's a different world.
Then it's going to take multiple quarters for you to really come to it. But imagine that you have a stack like OpenAI, which is available, right? And you have few more stacks. It's not just OpenAI, which is going to help you build your use case on top of it, right? So the world also needs that base. Otherwise, you'll be left out. There is no fun for you to basically build something in the GenAI space which is not current after 8 months. So you'll be left out. So there is no choice but Ramesh, for you to execute fast. Correct. And that's the way I also look at it. For any startup, I think it's more important for somebody like us who's getting started. Right? When you have an idea which you have clarity on what you think your customer wants, and the tech is evolving super fast, you better get it done fast.
Right. I want you to take us through the whole idea of how do you get this built, because all of us understand that we're not a full-fledged team. We don't have anyone on the QA team, right?
Yeah.
There is no Jira or any tool that we can go and find bugs. Right? There is no area where there are users testing or also looking for feedback. There are no customers that we can go and give this product to and say, give it right now. It's all in the world. But can you just give an idea of how did you get hands-on? Like which parts did you pick and choose to say, hey, we're going to go ahead live with scheduling, with automation analytics, and we will probably keep LinkedIn away for the next one. So walk us through that.
So I think the way our largest vision is to build a social CRM. Absolutely. And that's basically our vision. And the beta is not for that. Right? But what we designed is that, I think let's take one social channel at a time.
Yeah.
And start tracking the leads and part of it. Help businesses, individuals, creators, to basically drive their social presence. I think that's the starting point. We spoke about multiple parts. Our objective is to help you drive the social presence first. And we looked at all the platforms. I think today, the Twitter and X is really the happening place. We've got a lot of changes, a lot of tools. There is a significant gap also available, in terms of tools which can help the businesses and individuals and creators to drive their social presence. So that's where we started. And then more importantly, Ramesh, you've been building your social presence from, for the last, I would say, 8 to 10 months now. I remember, I can tell this here, the total use per month was some, let's say, 1,000. Today, you are probably 500,000. Yeah. So, which means that you have been to the journey and you have tried multiple products. So we exactly know what has worked with this and what hasn't worked, what bit of us worked with. There is one more reason why we have the clarity on what is required from a customer point of view. We also know the pain point. Analytics is the pain point in terms of helping you grow, or helping you even know what is working, what is not. Right? Today, if you go to Twitter, you don't even know who you should engage with, who you should not engage with. Simple things like that, right? I spend a few minutes every day, and I think if I were to reply to somebody, I have to spend that few minutes to figure out if it is even a worth to reply. So these are the pain points we want to solve for, right? That is one. If you have the clarity on the problem you want to solve for, the next thing is that we started scouting for beta customers, right? So you should go back. This is not a launch that was done in three weeks. It was a launch that was done in 3 months.
Correct.
Right? The product had launched was the seed for this.
Right.
So you already have 700 people who have shown interest on the beta. Right?
Thank you very much.
Right?
Yes.
This is very humbling because when we go back and look at it as a person who build product, you cannot keep your beta customer wait for, let's say, 2 years. Right? They don't forget what the even matches of their part. So it is your responsibility to go back to them. It's to me common sense. to go back to them.
So how do you put the team together to work on specific, like how did you get hands out there?
The moment you basically have that in the problem statement, we got it scope, keep it as minimal useful as possible. And then we basically scouted for people who could help us. Right? We have figured out the product stack. Right? Even though I spent my last decade on the AWS and all of that, one thought I had is that what I was familiar is it need not be the most advanced thing today. And that was basically the thought process I had in mind. So we started exploring all the platforms, right from AWS to GCP to Vercel. We did few projects. We have built 40 micro apps.
Yes.
The learnings are there because we are running a few of them on GCP, few of them on Vercel, few of them on AWS. We've tried all the stacks. I understand where there is. We want to pick up the most friendly developer stack for the current generation.
So you took it upon yourself to kind of figure out platforms that are working.
We looked at it. I spoke to a lot of founders, a lot of tech folks, to get help. And the learning has been very clear. We started out with GCP for now. I think at this stage, we thought GCP is a good place for us to start with the stack we want because we want to be very, stack is very friendly for AI. We
GCP.
We built the 40 apps.
Correct.
Right? We built about good number of them on top of these. We could just to test the waters.
Yeah.
So the apps today, the micro apps which we have published, about 40 plus, we almost attract close to 10,000 users, right? Which is huge, right? Which is basically, an itself can be a startup in itself today, right?
Yeah.
So we've already learned the route that we kind of understand what is the tech stack. We got the tech stack from there, right from building. Like when we evaluated, I've been using, in the past, I've used like one of the most common building platform on the market. But when I evaluated, we also found a few of them was available. Our excitement to be let's see those, right? But it's a full stack today. Correct. We might change it later, but we could get it started with like let's say 24 hours. Our entire subscription, Ramesh, I spoke to you the other day. When we came back, right? We have awesome like architect, engineers. I told them this is a layer.
System 2 of the
yeah. You give them the clarity. But of course, a bunch of people were helping them as a partnership to that. We were able to get the whole subscription in like 24 hours because when you know what you want and you're clear, on what you want to do
exactly.
This is possible. A lot of times we break in, a lot of processes, cycles, and we imagine a lot of things which are not important. One last thing, like see, Ramesh, we don't have a laundry list of tools, but we started using Basecamp on day one. I'm a big fan of Basecamp at the happy point. We use Basecamp. We can probably do one session where we walk through what we've done. Everything we do, right from writing the, trying to describe the idea to, writing the description or being able to work with our partners on this and everything else, we capture everything in Basecamp, right? Today, if you go to Basecamp, I'm sure you and I can get the complete picture of what's happening. And we also know where people are stuck, where people need help. It is a very remote space. You need to have tools required to be able to collaborate.
Absolutely.
That is one more reason why people have clarity what they do. So all of that takes to why we have two tools today. One is Basecamp, other one is GitHub.
That's it.
Everything once I implement that. Of course, you have.
Not to forget Excel sheets.
Yeah. So that's all. That's how we've been operating. Typically, I think I'm let you talk about how you look at it. In fact, looking at the product side is one. There's a lot of changes on the product side. The data stack is different, right? These can get done faster. Also, we have people who are pretty smart, right? We have architects who are front and back, and we have good partners on the design side, everything. Working on really solid.
Absolutely. So before I start on the marketing side of things, I think it is also when you take up a stance, right? When you want to get something done, I think the whole universe conspires upon you to help you get to where you want. For example, I recollect Sri was also on a call with his old friend, and he was just kind of curious to understand what we're building, and Sri jokingly kind of asked him, hey, why don't you help us test this entire thing? And there was Shanti, who was, he just came on board, he came to work for just one day to kind of understand, and today he's just sitting there, he has spare time, and I think that's the beauty about it, that is beyond planning on Basecamp per se.
100%. And when, you got a very interesting point, but people who are chime in and for participate, right?
Yeah.
Customers. We have got close to 12 to 15, I would say, design partner even for the beta.
Yeah.
Right? Who are basically trying to product, give us feedback. They're already actively using it, right? And that's a good question. And this is a product which basically we also use it extensively. We have been complimentary for the last, let's say, I would say 4 weeks extensively, right? That's also helping us. And more importantly, Ramesh, right? See, it is very important for us to think in a very iterative mode. If as founders, if you put a very large, big plan and start executing over a very 20-year process, I think it's the probability of that getting successful is very less. But we are hitting ourselves by doing a smaller iterative releases here. That's pretty much the way I will do. And I will basically, here's an example of making common sense of basically starts in the products.
Absolutely.
And overall, I understand how did it pan out on the other side? Because this is the same thing. Because on the tech side, on the product side, there's a lot of help on the stack which we are working on. A lot of people are, we know people doing this for decades, right? And they are coming and participating, helping. Although we are a lean team, everybody is pretty deep at what they've done.
Totally.
Now, on the marketing side, you are a one-man show record, right? So what is happening there? How did you pull it off?
Yeah, like I said, the universe conspires. When you decide to do something really good, the universe conspires, and that's not a very different story from here. Taking the cue from the tea stall, the tea shop, I mean the tea barista in some sense, yeah. I said, okay, let's get this done, right? So we contacted with a few design partners to get the website in some shape and form, at least the design, colors that we both were very clear in on how that needs to be done. And these days it's a commodity, right? We don't have to go over. These are big. So we chose Webflow, and I had no idea about Webflow because all my life we were just like, okay, we got to put up a website. So we chose Webflow.
I think I just paused there. All his life, Ramesh should have gone and asked for a website, and he would have gotten a website in like 3 months or so, or whatever time he has, right? Ramesh, let me ask you one question, right? I think before you go into the details, or just simply show the difference between the past and the now, right? In the past video, I asked for the website.
Yeah, it was all done.
It was all done, right? Probably the time was only how many weeks, how many months we were waiting. Yeah. But today it is different, right? Can walk us through that difference, right? How did you even choose Webflow? I know you started posting in the social, you had quite a lot of engagement, all this stuff. Can you talk about the journey? Because I think today you can say that, hey, we just got it done in a few weeks, but I'm sure there's not groundwork done.
I mean, groundwork, obviously, these are things that keep running at the back of your head. So like I said, taking a cue from the tea barista, I decided to just say, okay, let's get the website launched.
Right.
And prior to that, we had an idea that it's going to be Webflow because I put out a poll. All the people who I was a part of, the team that I was a part of, they had their own ways of suggesting which is much better, what tools, which is absolutely open source, and what is easy to work on and stuff like that. We have nothing to lose, so we just chose Webflow and we went for it. Then we had a design agency. We knew exactly what we wanted. Again, that comes from a muscle memory to say, how should a website look? What are components in it and how do you want to work? So we knew exactly what we wanted. So the design agency was able to get it up really quickly. And then it also boils down to, okay, now we have a lot of content to put out. There's SEO. Instead of just looking at it as a mountain, we just broke that out and we say, what are the 5 things that we need to get this launched? So we decided it's going to be the home page, the pricing page, the about us page, the change log to say what kind of features. Instead of having full-fledged features, we just thought we'd stick to a change log and the pricing page, right? Very, very simple rudimentary website that is rich in whatever it contains, whatever it contains. Copy was not difficult because we knew exactly what we wanted, and again, platforms like OpenAI just helps us embellish the English that we want, or there's Grammarly and things that I have put up. But I took it upon myself to log into Webflow, which I've never done ever in the past or done. I created sections, inside that. Never. This is experimenting. I mean, if it went wrong, we always had a Control-C button, right? That was what we had in my mind. So we built that up. We put the content in place. We took screenshots from the product, very, very easy ones. We put the change log together. Pricing, use Stripe. Stripe has a pricing page that you can just embed on your website. Very, very easy. And we didn't even change that. We got that on the website. I think what we realized is FAQs are the most important pieces because that's where our users will try and kind of ask. And so we got a few FAQs also written, thanks to OpenAI, thanks to our own need for what we wanted to do. And then go, the website was ready. So I think does all boil down to how hands-on you get and in terms of prioritization. If I were to look at the SEO pages that need to bring this, only then we can launch a website. I would have never been able to do this. I think it was all about priority. And this is not a one-time. The launch would just start. It's just a start. The launch just starts, but it keeps going over a period of time where I have the ability to bring everything together. But that's not a showstopper for not to get customers. And that was the thinking.
Yeah. So let's just take back and mention it. In fact, you bring a very, very interesting, perspective, right? You see, you're a tech person. So you're basically, obsessed about trying to grow this. So that's been, your passion.
Yeah.
And for somebody like you, somebody like you who's trying to basically drive this whole startup, for a customer, there's a change which you figured out. I want to talk about a couple of minutes. Number one is that the no-code platforms are changing the way we operate. Right? Imagine a world where you don't have all of the tools you mentioned, all of them are no-code.
Absolutely.
Which startups and business are trying to adopt so that they will execute fast. Okay? Imagine if that you didn't have it. And plus the AI. Okay? So the two combination, I strongly believe is going to change the way we operate, not only startups, but even business. In fact, there's the two reasons. In fact, if you just go back in time, right, 12, 18, 24 months back, this would have been impossible. You cannot launch a website without a web developer sitting next to you, right? On a marketplace sitting next to you. Or, a person who understands building, etc. That you can get it out. Today, no code. For somebody who's willing to get their hands dirty, that is the most important thing. Who has clarity of what he or she wants to do, right? If they wanted to actually build an idea into product, they could use multiple of these low-code platforms. I think you mentioned two of them, you mentioned two of them. Right? You put them together, you can get your idea into a product in few weeks. Very good. Pretty quick. And that is what has happened right now. So now what is more important is that we have to constantly keep doing it better, But what is more important? The common sense. The factor which we wanted to bring into the
which is not as common as this, right?
Exactly. You need to get your customers into the product and get the feedback, whether it is good or bad. In fact, more importantly, the ones which are not working, right? And then you go back, iterate, and come back, do this process. This iteration is what is going to make you different from the good and the bad, right? And that is where I want to ask you, because that is the most important thing. And we spoke enough on the first part of the staffing, the no code and all of that.
Correct.
There's also dependency on the AI part. And so much of change happening, right? I'm not sure.
Talk about
but because it is very important, because for this particular moment of startups to coming out and execute fast, you need to have a solid platform like OpenAI to be able to thrive.
Totally. Right? Before we get on to that, right, this is last part of our podcast today on Reset to Zero. Sam Altman quits. And the next day, Sri and I meet each other nonchalantly. I kind of asked him, hey, why did you offer him the CTO position over the weekend?
And I told him that it's not to compete with Satya and all of the world, right? For me to go back and talk about it.
So, but the Monday that we come back, Sri is like, Ramesh, we have to start looking for other elements. I said, what's the matter? So Sam Altman quitting OpenAI is so much dependent. The fact that what she was talking about is nowadays there are these platforms that low code and OpenAI platforms, but we are all companies that are building on top of them, right? Using their services to build on top of it. But it is becoming, and every business will do this, just not us. Right? When it comes to AI, every other business will do this, but it has so much dependency on these companies progressing and doing really well. Which brings us to the other part of this, to the last part of our podcast. What's been happening? What are your thoughts? Right? Would we have literally gone to another LLM?
I think LLMs, of course, we are part of the using multiple. Correct, right? There has to be different purposes for each of them. But the most important thing is Sam and the OpenAI team are back. That's the most important thing. It's a two thing. It's the Sam and the OpenAI team back, because the way I look at OpenAI, it's a developer platform, right? Which is going to help multiple startups like ours to come out and execute fast. Great. Because I think startups like ours, I mean, there are way too many startups. But I think in terms of startups like ours, our goal is to basically be able to be closer to the customer, right, to understand their problem and be able to solve them. Right? And the OpenAI and all these tools are just tools for us to, create that endpoint. That's the way we look at it. But what OpenAI is basically making is it's kind of revolutionizing things in terms of making AI more of a commodity for startups like us. See, unless the OpenAI is thriving, it's innovating on a daily basis, they're not going to be seeing this many number of startups be able to solve the customers.
Yeah.
That is the way I look at it. That's a larger picture if we step back. Now, what's happening in the OpenAI? There's a lot of changes. I hope all is well right now. Hopefully, they can catch up on sleep. That's the way I would look at it. But at the end of the day, there's a new board, and the new board members. I hope they are aligned with the founders. The companies are business. Because at the end of the day, if you ask me what is your takeaway today as a founder who's trying to do everything required from that business, I would say we better get people on the board who understand the journey of the founders and also understand the business objective of the company, right? That is number one, right? It looks like if you get out, VC who's on the board, they're going to be pro-founders, I would say, the company. But if you basically try to pick up an independent board member, right, we better have choose somebody who also understands the journey of the founder. It looks like it's better we stay away from picking up a independent board member who basically have not been to the journey itself, right? Who's been, let's say, who's been from the top companies, been on the top. Being on the top doesn't mean that they understand the journey from going up from the bottom to top, right? That's, our understanding it is not very clear, at least. But what is exciting is that there's a new board. The new board has, pretty cool people like, the co-CEO of Salesforce and a few other people. I believe it is in good hands. Hopefully, this basically will bring back, a successful and a thriving OpenAI, right? Is actually a great thing for startup like us.
Totally. I think what is really important for us to get with this entire piece, also a lesson from this whole episode, this whole saga drama that happened last week, is as we form one company, as we start bringing in the board members into it, as we start raising money, all of that happens.
Correct.
It's important to get people who are pro-founders. Correct. Right? At the end of the day, the company is run by founders and their vision. But there is a tipping point after this. Let's say we're selling a whole lot of our stake in order to raise big money because we're progressing really well and the investors who are really have confidence. There is a tipping point where you are no more the majority shareholder in some sense. And that's when the board takes over. Nothing wrong in it because every company goes through that and that's probably the right thing to do. I think there's a timing of which you probably want to get to this, right? OpenAI has been super fast in its growth. They probably didn't even have time to look back and think about all of this. But as founders, I think it's important for us. The lesson that we take is as we form this company, as we kind of raise money when needed,
Right.
What is that? How much can we give away? And at what point are we in a position to learn from the board to execute? Because right now we are in this mode where we know what needs to be done, and probably whoever the board is, or can probably watch us, guide us, be a guiding post. But we are the ones who will be running the show initially. I think that's the point that we.
That's a very, very important point. Like you said, as founders, when you go through this, take a moment, take some time to understand at what pace you're trying to do your part, so that can really guide that. But I also want to kind of talk about one speculation which was happening on the space, right, the last week or so. There was some speculation, across the board where, people thought that, the OpenAI, the whole countries that provide probably is being given away for a lot more startups, But that is actually conflicting even in my mind. Right? I think I would believe that, hey, having, let's say, in case, if there was a slowdown on the way OpenAI was executing, it would have probably gotten maybe few startups, that would be very few. But the impact would be having much, much higher on the hundreds and few thousand startups which have actually sprouted out on OpenAI, right, or any other LLM. And that's basically the way I look at it. In fact, it is counterintuitive. if a platform like OpenAI goes down, if some reason or slows down, it is going to have a significant impact on many other ecosystem itself, right? And that's the way I will look at it. I think what happened in the end, I think is a great kit for startup ecosystem. We basically we need a platform like OpenAI, only then LLM innovation will happen. Okay? Otherwise, we will end up seeing a monopoly being done by a few very large companies keeping the tech out of the wood or keeping it under control. Those things can happen which will slow down the entire startup ecosystem, which means that startups could not solve very complex problems. Because if you have to be a very customer-facing startup, you need tools like AI.
That's a great point. I think very, very, very important fact. The point that you're thinking about is when you're a startup, the only job for you is to innovate, right? And when you're innovating at a pace, right, there is no one who can probably come and tell you we don't innovate the other thing. You're in a mode that you probably want to have innovation. Just start with the code and then come back to your seat and execute the way. But when it's flip-sided, right, innovation will start. Probably that's what happened, and even at the OpenAI's end, where there is a conflict. We don't know the speculation that is going on. We don't know what the board said or what. But I would just think that at this point in time, the whole saga happened because of this whole idea of innovation and what could go right and wrong because of it. So we'll have to wait and see how.
Then also things like in the larger startup ecosystem, Ramesh, right? If you look at it, like OpenAI is not competing with startup. For example, OpenAI should be compared with AWS and the GCP of the world. Right? For example, 20 years back, you have to basically launch your website. You need to basically, run your own hardware, right? That has changed today. Right? Imagine you running your, whole website in a few clicks, from the website. That's the change. That's the transition. Right? That's the transition hasn't happened on the AI. And platforms like OpenAI, multiple LLMs are trying to do that. The LLM tech was there for few years, multiple years. Right? The base at which you can iterate of OpenAI solving for customer problems is something very important for a very thriving startup. And I'm really happy excited about getting back the OpenAI and having Sam and the team back to OpenAI. Right?
Great. So wish you the very best, Sam, and the rest of the OpenAI team. On that note, this is probably that's what we have for the week.
Yes.
So signing off is Sri and Ramesh, and this is the Reset to Zero podcast. So please do like it, subscribe, and share it as the word goes.
Thank you. Have a great day. Great weekend. Thank you.
Thank you very much.